Happy New Year! God, 2017, right? Let's give a round of applause for last year being over.
Yes. Hi,
How are
Jamie.
you?
Wonderful, Jamie. How is everybody here? They look pretty happy. Great group of people.
Thank you so much for being here on this first back to work day of the year.
That's right.
Where we're going to bring some positive energy and joy to what might feel like a little bit sluggish otherwise, or a little bit of a rainy day, right?
Yes, and a little resistant to start the week and the year. And how do we sort of put ourselves on first gear, second gear, third gear, fifth gear?
Well, we're going to raise that energy up today, I think, starting with the name of your book, which is Wake Up to the Joy of You. Congratulations, yes. It's so exciting.
Thank you, Jamie.
So, as we just kind of touched on, 2016 was a pretty interesting year that we're putting behind us, and we're kind of all looking ahead to what's to come. And your book is 52 chapters. With
one for every week.
One for every week. So did you, was that always the plan, to kind of make it a kind of year in centering yourself and meditation?
Well, the plan was really to show people that in order to change anything in our lives, and in order to transform and to have more of what we want, it's a process. It's an incremental, microscopic steps process. And you've got to give yourself a year, and then another year, and another year. And it's not going to be overnight, because a lot of people get frustrated and say, I didn't get that, or I don't have that. And okay, well, let's break it down and start to really slow down, be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. I think personally for me, as kind of a neurotic New Yorker who has trouble being quiet for even like 5 minutes. Yeah, right? Any neurotic New Yorkers in the room? The thought of meditation, the thought of being alone in your thoughts is scary. And I know, in one part in your book, you say people are so afraid that when there's nothing, the negative thoughts come rolling in.
Yes. Do you know, Jamie, that we have about 50,000 thoughts a day in our head, and 70% of them are negative. Do people relate? Yes.
You guys
okay,
have some
so
negative
how do
thoughts?
we change that? If you can't change it a thought at a time, because it's going to change, you're going to be forever changing your thoughts. You don't do it that way. You just go to a higher level of where you start bringing positive support to yourself. So, for example, a woman came the other day and she said to me, I was on vacation, and she saw my book and she said, oh my God, I've got to read this because I worry all the time. I said, I know, I'm Greek. We even have worry beads. We worry all the time. But the thing is that in order to let go of worry, you substitute it with trust. So I said to her, sit down and write down everything you worry about. So it was like in my room at the hotel. And she was the housekeeper manager. Can you believe it? And she said to me, I just worry, and I'm so good at what I do. So she wrote down about 25 things that she worries about. And I said, in the other page, write down what you trust. So you start to teach yourself a substitute of your worries, and you trust. And you know that, how many of us worry when we go to the airport? But then you're fine.
Right.
You get on the plane, you land.
Me for sure.
So you start to support and reinforce all the things that have gone right. So anyways, she did that. Then we burned it. So to release
Where did you burn it? In a hotel room?
Well, we burned it in the balcony. In the garden, actually, because it was in Hawaii.
Oh,
so
nice.
we burned it on the lawn. And it went out, and I said, let your worries go out into the wind now, and the ocean, and throw them. Well, she felt amazing. And that all took 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think writing things down.
Yeah, writing things down.
Get them out of there.
And really releasing them. And I also think we have to be ruthless with ourselves. We have to catch ourselves. I talk to myself a lot. So when I worry, I say, Agapi, what are you worrying about? Talk to me. Because you have to connect with yourself.
Right.
You can't leave otherwise you start to feel abandoned.
Right.
And so meditation, and my first chapter, Jamie, is called The Art of Meditation. I tell people meditation is really about loving yourself. So when I teach people meditation, I say, put your hand in your heart. Everybody do that. Put your hand in your
We'll do it
heart.
together.
And put the other hand in your belly, okay? So you start to fill your heart with good thoughts and good feelings. And you start to tell yourself, everything is wonderful. I'm here at AOL Built with Jamie and Agapi right now. Isn't this wonderful? Wake up to the joy of you. I'm going to feel uplifted. I'm going to leave here feeling wonderful. I'm going to let go of my negative thoughts. I'm quite an amazing person. Start telling yourself that. You know, why not? What?
You're an amazing person.
You have an amazing person. Turn next to someone next to you and tell them they're an amazing. Do it. Just do it.
You are all amazing people.
You're all
an amazing
people.
person.
You see, it's in the moment. It's in the moment. We live in the moment, and we don't. If you live in your head, you're not in the moment, and if you're not in the moment, you're missing life.
Right. I totally agree with you. I talk to myself, but I pretend like I'm talking to my cat so that it seems like a little less embarrassing. So, you know, we're talking here, and, you know, there are a lot of things that we've talked about. I've read a bunch of things in your book that really stayed with me and resonated with me that we can talk about, but it's not always as easy to put those things into practice. So
Right.
what advice would you give to somebody who maybe is thinking about meditation or is a little hesitant about it? Or what's
The first advice
thing?
I would say is read this book. Because honestly, people, I have to tell you, I work this. I've done tremendous amount of inner work. So that I stand before of people saying, I am a person who's worked my process and is working my process.
Right.
And in the book, I tell every single chapter is a personal story, right? You've read the book.
Oh, yeah.
My disappointments, my rejections, my relationships that didn't work out, all the things that didn't work out and how I worked it. Because people learn by example. When you tell people, yes, I know it was like to have an acting career that didn't happen.
Right.
And how I found my voice in a New York City bus by performing for one woman. Because one day it hit me, I can't wait for people to give me permission to express myself.
Right.
So the advice I would give to people is start by identifying the things that you want more of and start practicing asking for help and how you internalize rejection. Because one of the things we do, Jamie, is that when we don't get what we want, the relationships, the careers, the work, we start to feel bad about ourselves. And we start to make ourselves wrong. And I have a chapter, I think it's chapter 18, that I say there is nothing wrong with you because the guy didn't marry you, or that he doesn't want to date you, or the woman doesn't want to date
This
you.
is very personal to me right now. I feel like I'm looking right in the mirror
There's
talking
something
about
wrong with him.
Yeah,
Or with
what is
her.
wrong with you?
There is nothing
Hypothetical
wrong with
guy.
you. And I think that's such an important thing. And we all suffer from this thing that we are not enough. Raise your hand if you think that's true. We all have this thing, I'm not enough. And I have another chapter in the book that I say, enough of not feeling enough.
Right.
Because, listen, in who we are in our personalities, we are never enough. But in terms of who we are as the spirit of life, we have 37.2 trillion cells in our bodies, giving us life.
Right.
We're a miracle of life, not because I say so, just because we are.
True, right.
It's true. So I say, you know, if you think of that every day and you wake up, and if you're feeling insecure or inadequate or, you know, untrusting about your life, you start to think and you say, my body has more cells than stars in the galaxies.
Right.
I am the miracle of life, so there's something good is going on in here. Let me tap into that.
Absolutely. You know, I think we were talking about this a little bit before we came out here, but I read a lot about body image and feeling comfortable in your own skin. I think that touches greatly to that point. And I know your chapter on what true glamour is really resonated with me because I'm a human person, and there are days when I look in the mirror and I'm totally not satisfied with what I'm seeing, and it's a journey. It's another kind of journey, but it's a journey nonetheless. So
Of self-acceptance, basically.
self-love and
Self-acceptance.
self-acceptance
And your uniqueness.
Right.
How there's no one like
my
you.
birthmark that I get Twitter trolls telling me I should do something about. But anyway, I digress. Can you touch a little bit on the true glamour?
Yes, well, I had an experience that taught me about that because like all of us, you know, I would obsess with what I'm going to wear and my looks and everything. And of course, I studied acting, and a lot of the acting has also to do about your, you know, how you look and how you present yourself. And there was one time that my sister was going to the Glamour Awards, that happen every year at Carnegie Hall. And it's the Glamour Awards. It's pretty glamorous.
Exactly.
And,
Right there in the name.
And she was giving the award to Queen Rania, and everybody was there. Jennifer Aniston, Cher, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. All the stars, and everybody looks dressed to the nines. And
Glamorous, if you will.
What?
Glamorous.
Glamorous, very glamorous. And I had a great outfit, but it so happened that I was uptown getting my hair done, and it took longer because hair always takes longer. And I said to Rihanna, well, I'm going to go down to Soho and change, and I'll meet you at Carnegie Hall. She said to me, darling, you don't have time to change because it's 5 o'clock, and by the time you go down and change, they start at 6. And
Not in New York City traffic, that's for sure.
exactly, at 5 o'clock. So I said, well, I'm wearing this nice business dress and my little business shoes. And she said to me, well, just put a little makeup on and just come as you are. You're perfect. And I went, wow, come as I am?
What a novel concept.
What a novel. And honestly, I was wearing a blue dress and my little black jacket and I walked there. My hair looked great, and the makeup artist was there. She made a little makeup. She gave me her earrings. And I walked in, and I started to feel happy with Agapi, like feeling really good. And then I started to put my energy out, and I said, I literally heard this inner voice saying, where are you? Where your aura? Our aura, our energy, and project yourself. And honestly, there I am. I have a picture with Fergie with her red slit dress, her long blonde hair, her high heels, looking absolutely gorgeous, and Agapi going, hello, I'm here too. And I felt great.
Yeah.
I never forgot that. It was like I never anymore obsess about what I'm going to wear.
It's kind of a defining
It's very
moment.
freeing.
Also, kudos to this makeup artist for having a great pair of earrings to give you. That
I
was
know.
nice.
I know.
Speaking of your sister, I know that you're working a lot with her on her new venture, Thrive
Thrive
Global.
Global,
Congratulations
amazing.
on that. Do
Thank
a round
you.
of applause for that.
Please, follow us on the blog of her, the Thrive Global, and it's amazing, all about wellness and how people sleep and meditate and how they find all the things we talk about.
Right.
Really amazing.
Can you tell us a little bit about Thrive Global and about your role there and how?
I do a lot of the seminars that we do in corporations, and we go in corporations and we teach the employees about wellness, about taking care of themselves, about not being burnt out and stressed, and giving them microscopic steps of how you change behavior daily and how you find the support and how the culture can change so that you can be feeling fantastic and that your work is not everything. It's not even about a work-life balance. It's more about balance.
Right. What is some kind of takeaways that you've gotten or that you've seen through,
Well, people don't even know that they don't sleep and that their sleep affects everything in their lives, and that they become really completely burned out and that they lose a sense of themselves and they stop doing the things they value, which is like being with their family and missing moments and missing their kids growing up.
right?
And so a lot of awareness, a lot of people having wake-up calls and saying, I don't want to do this anymore.
I think you're right, because life is too short.
And the other thing that's amazing is, of course, the greatest thing is about being off our devices, because we've all become so addicted.
I think, is anybody make a New Year's resolution to spend less time on Instagram?
Or Facebook.
I've already failed.
I mean, that's actually part of my way that I really also support myself is that I give myself time before I go to sleep to really read.
Can we go through maybe like a day in Agapi's life?
There's never a day that's exactly the same. I think some of the key things that I do in my life is that I listen to myself. So I know my boundaries. So because I'm an empath, I feel people's emotions a lot. Does anybody relate here? Where you feel people's emotions. And I can go out in the street and literally feel what's going on. And I don't watch the news a lot because I tend to absorb a lot of all the bad news.
Well, especially now, it's hard not to.
I really teach myself how to not be responsible for other people's emotions. And that's part of the joy, is that I can stay in my joy when someone can be very unhappy. Because me trying to lift them or make them feel better. It's only by naturally allowing my joy to be present.
I think that makes a lot of sense, especially some of the other chapters that really resonated with me were about toxic relationships and freeing yourself from a toxic relationship. I'm not going to bore you with the details of my own toxic relationships, but I think that, that's something that we can all kind of relate to, is staying either romantically or with a friend involved with somebody who's just not
and I
good for
have
us.
this great chapter in the book. It's called Know Your Exit Time. When is it time to get out? Not only a relationship, but a friendship. I mean, I had to let go of a friendship because I was exhausted being a friend with this person, because she was always bringing her marriage problems to me, and it wasn't going anywhere. And how do you break up from a girlfriend? You break up from a boyfriend, but a girlfriend, or maybe a sibling, or maybe your parents, and you don't necessarily give yourself permission to say, this is not really working for me.
Right. I know that's definitely intense. And, speaking of parents, you have a chapter about letting go of your childhood as well, which
that's part
is difficult.
We all carry hurts from our childhood. I mean, I had the most loving parents, but I was hurt that my parents separated. And, divorced parents can make the child feel that something wrong with them. So how do you heal that? And, Jamie, that's part of why the book is 52 chapters, is because it takes time. It takes patience. It takes commitment to really go for what your level of healing is, to heal the wounds, to heal the hurts, to become more solid in yourself, to build a foundation for yourself. It's life. I always say, we are a masterpiece and a work in progress.
Yeah, I love that.
We're perfectly imperfect. None of us are perfect, but we all struggled.
My mother says that I'm pretty perfect.
Okay. You're pretty perfect. I'll give you that.
You could talk to her about it. She's probably watching, because she's.
Hi, Mom.
Go back to work, Mom.
You made a masterpiece, Mom. Yes, she is.
And a work in progress, obviously. If there's one, we said that it's a lot of moving pieces, it's a lot of parts. Meditation and kind of going on this journey is not one big thing, but kind of the sum of many small things. But what would you say is one big takeaway that you'd want people to take from reading this book?
The biggest takeaway ever, gratitude. Gratitude. And again, there's a chapter in my book that's called Reverence, Gratitude, and Oh My God. And it's really about when you start to say thank you to life and to yourself. I told people in a seminar I did just before New Year's, I said, if you want to do one good thing for yourself to end this year, write a thank you letter to yourself and mail it. A Dear Jamie letter, a Dear Agapi letter, a Dear whatever your name is here. And you do that, honest to God, do that. Go home and write a letter to yourself, and you're going to start crying from thanking yourself. And then once you thank yourself, because we take ourselves for granted, start to thank people around you who just acknowledging people from your heart.
Right.
And once you start to do that, you start to open up your own energy and you start to fill your cup, because we walk around empty. And how we fill our cup is through gratitude. Never go to sleep. Never go to sleep without having 3 things that you write down or you speak to yourself or to a mirror or to someone, saying,
to
your cat, thank you, to your dog, saying, I'm grateful for what happened today. I'm grateful that I made it on time. I'm grateful that I talked to my friend. I'm grateful that I can see. I'm grateful that I have hot water.
Right.
So many
things that we totally take for granted.
And in that chapter, I want, we don't have a lot of time to tell you, but I had an amazing story of where I was bitching about a flight being canceled, and I really, again, I heard my inner voice say, start being grateful right now. And that gratitude led me to a miracle that happened. Because
we're not gonna spoil it for you, because we want you to read it and find out for yourself, right?
When you're feeling grateful, you feel so rich and so abundant. And that's, so when you ask me what's the takeaway, I would say that is the biggest takeaway. Be grateful.
Great. Any New Year's resolutions while we're here on January 3rd?
New Year's resolution is no pressure. No pressure, because, we pressure ourselves. And you said to me, describe a day, of Agape, and I go, okay, when I start to pressure myself, do more, get this done, did you get this done? And then I lose my own well-being. Mm-hmm. And I have to really watch, how I pressure myself unnecessarily. And I think, don't you think we pressure ourselves because we compare ourselves and we think we should be something more than we are?
Absolutely.
And it's like, why do we do that to ourselves? We're such nice people.
Right? We are such nice people, right?
Don't do that to
Agapi's
yourself.
such a nice person, right? This has been this is actually so lovely.
Such nice people. You wouldn't treat your best friend that way.
Exactly.
When once, I was feeling, when I first moved to New York away from my family, I was living on my own in a one-bedroom apartment, and I would get very lonesome. And I remember telling my girlfriend one night, I'm so lonely. And she said to me, you are? Why? You are with my favorite person in the world.
Oh, I love that so much.
I said, isn't that sweet? I'm her favorite person. Maybe I should be my favorite person.
There we go. I'm going to start calling myself my own favorite person in the world. Well, I think we're going to open it up to some audience questions, if anybody has any.
Hey, Agapi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Tell us your name?
Philip.
Philip. That's a great name.
Thank you. What are some of your favorite motivational speakers and quotes?
Motivational speakers and quotes. I think one of my greatest favorite people to listen to is a poet called Mark Nepo, N-E-P-O. And you should look him up. He survived cancer twice. He faced death. And he writes from a very deep emotional place of soul and authenticity. And I think one of my greatest quotes that I love is Rumi. And Mark reminds me of Rumi, the poet Rumi, when he says, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So I learned that quote, and I felt when things don't work out in my life, I always go, Agapi, you don't know. This might just be in your favor when you think you didn't get something you wanted. And when I look back, everything I didn't get that I thought I wanted led me to getting what I really wanted, which was myself and my centered and to know who I am. My other favorite motivational speaker is my sister, Ariana.
I know her very well.
Ariana, and she speaks with such wisdom from her own life experience. And she has a quote that I have on my desk, and it says, a good day starts the night before, because, she's a big advocate of sleep. So whenever I'm, delaying my sleep and I'm on my devices or I'm doing things, I hear her voice saying, you're going to be tired tomorrow and you're not going to be happy. Go to sleep. And so that's a great quote.
I should start thinking about her voice instead of my own voice, because it's not working when I tell myself to go to sleep. Maybe her voice will be more effective.
Yes, Jamie.
A little more stern, maybe.
Do it with a Greek accent.
Yeah, darling, go to sleep, darling.
Go to sleep. A good day starts the night before. Go to sleep. There we go. It's good to put voices.
Another question?
Hey, Agapi. So I've tried...
And your name is?
Jawad.
Jawad.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you. I've tried a few different types of meditation, like including apps, but I'm not sure if it's always working, if I'm doing it right. Is there a certain way or certain practice that you recommend?
There is no way to not do meditation right. It's like saying I'm not breathing right. So that, first of all, let that thought go, about meditation. I suggest that, have you tried Headspace? Have you tried Headspace? You did? Does it work for you?
I've only did the 10-day thing. I didn't do the whole
Keep going, because I do love Headspace. And I also, when you get my book, get the book on audio. I have 32 guided meditations with my voice and music. And what happens with that, download it in audio from iTunes or Audible or anywhere you want. And what happens is I teach people how to relax their own breath. And also, I'm going to give you my email. Send me an email, and I'm going to send you a meditation that I follow, and I'll send you the link to it. would you do that? It's Agapi, A-G-A-P-I, my name, at unbindingtheheart.com, unbindingtheheart.com. And there's a meditation that I use, which is you chant the Sanskrit name Hu, H-U, and it's a very high vibration, and you do 5 breaths and 5 hues for 15 minutes. But it's a guided meditation. Somebody guides you with it. And once you learn it, you start to do it on your own anywhere. You can do it at your office and go to close the door and do it. And it's very powerful. And I love to share it with you. But send me an email. I'll send you the link. And anybody else who wants to, it will be my pleasure.
We have another question right here in the back.
Hi, Agapi.
And your name?
I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
This is my favorite conversation on the whole planet. I love this stuff. I just wondered how young, I don't know much about you from what you've said. How young can we take this conversation? Have you addressed this conversation for kids, for teenagers?
That's such a wonderful question. Do you have children?
I do.
How old?
25, 26.
But yes.
And
but
they've done some of this kind of work.
Yes.
I brought them up like that.
I was very blessed. Both Ariana and I had an amazing mother, Ellie. And her favorite quote was, "Don't miss the moment." And I tell a lot of the stories in my book before, and I tell a lot of my stories here too, but I wrote a book called Unbinding the Heart. And I tell of how she taught us ethics and how she taught us from a very young age not to be afraid. She was the kind of woman that when she didn't have money to pay the rent, she would go out and buy lots of food and invite all the neighborhood to have dinner. She wanted to show us no scarcity, that to trust in life. So, and I have stories and stories where, we would lock ourselves out of the apartment one day and we thought we couldn't go out to the theater. And my mother said, "Don't worry about it." She borrowed some money. She took us to the theater. She never had panic. And she always said, "There's always a solution. There is always a solution." So I was raised with tremendous positivity about the goodness of life and trusting life. And that's part of why I feel very passionate to share what I was given at a young age. Now, a lot of these things I had to learn myself. And then I went and studied psychology, and I did a lot of my own inner work to ground these things. Because as much as your parents can love you and give you, you still have to walk your path. But the path is available to all of us. You just have to trust that once you start asking, there are so many amazing teachers now and so many ways that we can open the doors. But in terms of children, there is nothing more important or valuable than to love them unconditionally, to give them trust in themselves. And my mother never compared me with my sister, for example. She was an amazingly brilliant student in math and algebra and in everything. I hated math. I thought my math teacher should die. I thought, why have math in this world? What am I going to do with algebra? I'm never going to use algebra. I wanted to act, to dance. And my mother never said, "Be like your sister." It was like, Agapi is Agapi and Ariana is Ariana. And that's the greatest gift you can give to your children. Never, never, never compare them. My mother said it's never about the marks. In this country, we make such a big thing about the marks, the marks. Is that what you call it? The
Grades, marks.
The grades, the grades. What grades? She never cared about the grades. You get an F, so what? It's not going to be who you are in your life. I mean, that's a gift.
I was a terrible student, and here I am sitting on stage with you, Agapi. So
There
you go. I think we have time for one more question.
Hey, Agapi. My name's Kyle. This has been a most wonderful way to start 2017. Thank you very much for being here. In my own personal life, I consider myself to be a very uplifting and positive force for everybody around me. Now, I know not everybody on this earth is the same way. Sometimes there are those negative characters that seem to have that dark cloud that resonates for whatever reason. I know earlier in the conversation you mentioned that a person's able to take themselves out of that and move forward in their own life. Do you think there's a way to flip people who might have that negative energy around, or do you just kind of let them be?
Such a great question, Kyle. First of all, I want to tell you something. Sitting here, I could feel your positive energy because you see, we are transparent. And I could see your energy, and as you were kind of nodding when Jamie and I were speaking, I could feel that. So just know that you have that, which is seen by people who don't even know you. And what a gift that is, first of all, Kyle, okay? So let's make sure you know that. What a gift in today's world, right? I have a chapter in the book called How to Deal with Negative People. And I remember a little girl came to my house with her mother, and her aunt was going through a divorce. And I said, I don't remember the little girl, say, Suzanne, how is Aunt Mary doing? I said, Agapi said, Aunt Mary is very negative because she's very unhappy. And I went, well, there you have it. Negative people are negative because they are unhappy. And you can project your happiness, you can give them tips, but some people just don't want to change. They have this way of seeing life, and their perspective of life, their outlook of life is negative. And I struggle so much to try and, for years, with so many people. And one day I'm going, why am I doing that? What am I getting out of it? And I let it go. And so when people are like that, you can send them good energy, positive energy. But I think sometimes the smartest thing is to just really move on. And because we who are the do-gooders and the positive people think it's our responsibility to then change the other people, the other half of the world. And when you say, no, not at all, it's not my responsibility, and if they get it through osmosis, if it, let your cup runneth over. And then if they get it and they go, wow, it was so great being with you, Kyle, and having dinner with you or chatting with you, I feel so much better. And you say, well, now go lift someone else. But if they come back to you on Sunday and they say, I feel down again, you go do some inner work.
There you go.
Is that clear?
Well, thank you so much, Agapi, for being here. This is such a great way to kick off the new year. Thank you all for being here.
Can I just tell them to invite them to my book launch?
Oh, please do. I was going to ask if it's out, when it's coming out, and when people can pick it up.
Yes, the book is out, and please share in your social media. Follow me in Facebook, on Instagram, Agapi Sees. In my Facebook, I post everything. But also on the 10th of January, I'm doing a book launch. We're having a beautiful event at the ABC Carpet and Home. It's on their website, other events at the Deepak home base. And I love you to come. You can get a ticket, and it's $30 and includes the book. And Ariana is introducing me, and then I'm going to speak. We're going to dance. We're going to do an exercise. It's going to be a love joy fest.
Are there going to be Greek cookies? I know that
yes,
there
how
are
do you
always
know
Greek
that?
cookies.
There are going to be Greek cookies. Yes.
I'm in. There you go.
So please come, and I'm looking forward to building a joy tribe for 2017.
Woo! Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.